I'm Caleb from PrivateAuto, and this is the 1961 International Harvester Scout. This video, we'll dive into the history of the Scout, some of the specs of the Scout, as well as a lot of the things to look out for when buying one of these, because they can either be in really good condition or absolutely horrible condition. So we'll give you some tips of what to look out for in buying one of these used, and we'll also give you some ideas of some things you can do, because this is a beautiful project truck or SUV. This Scout right here is listed for sale by owner on PrivateAuto.com, the largest marketplace for private party vehicles that gives you transactional tools to close the sale anytime, any place. Now let's dive into the video. All right, so we're gonna kick off the history with the brand itself, International Harvester. They are the ones that produced the Scout. So International Harvester started out as an agriculture and construction equipment manufacturer like a really, really long time ago, like early 1900s. And they were also known eventually for producing what was known as like the light truck. They also made some of the very first sport utility vehicles, or SUVs. Now the Scout was the second model that they produced, and they produced it to go right up against the Willys Jeep. The CJ5 was pretty popular at the time, but that was very much a military vehicle, not known for like comforts or good looks. So International Harvester created the Scout to go against them by giving it like some nice contoured lines instead of like the super rigid look of the CJ5. Now, what makes the Scout super fun is that it's super versatile. They made it as like a weekender vehicle, something that you drive on the weekends. You could turn this into like a camping vehicle. You can take off the hard top. They also had soft tops. They also had like truck beds. They had a camper attachment that you could add to it. So in essence, it was super modular. So International Harvester may hate me for saying this, but it is very comparable to the Jeeps of today that are extremely modular, where you can take off the tops, take off the doors. You can do a lot to a Jeep to make it your own. That was International Harvester, or IH's idea back when they created the Scout. Now you can compare the Scout, or say it's like the ancestor to today's Wagoneer, the Bronco, and the Blazer. And the Scout had its run from 1960 all the way to 1980, so a good 20-year span. And so that's why these are really great project cars, because they are old, they are classic, and you can do a whole lot with them. Now, eventually, International Harvester was purchased by Volkswagen, so Volkswagen owns the rights to the Scout. And they have teased that the Scout is going to come back, but it's going to come back as an EV SUV. So are you a fan of that, or do you think that's a bad move by Volkswagen? Let us know in the comments. Now let's dive into some of the specs of the 1961 Scout. So this Scout has the original Harvester 152 4-cylinder engine in it, just over 51,000 original miles on the engine. Now the engine in the Scout is a little bit unique. International Harvester took their 304 V8 and legitimately just cut it in half to create a slant 152 4-cylinder engine. The transmission is a 3-speed manual with 4-wheel drive. Now as far as fuel economy goes, this is a very old SUV. So it gets a good old 16 miles to the gallon on the highway and does 0 to 60 maybe. And it also has 2 fuel tanks on it, and you can switch between them. So if you run out of fuel in one, you switch to the other one and it can keep on going. Pretty cool. All right, now let's dive into what to look out for when buying a Scout, as well as some things that are unique to this Scout that have already been done. Starting off with the engine compartment here, you have the original 4-cylinder engine, which is pretty cool. That's the original. Not a lot of work has been done in here in the engine compartment. You also have some nice heat protector here on the hood of the vehicle. And one thing to look out for is like this body can rust quite a bit. And so some things that I have seen is that like up here in the latch where it latches, some people try to fill that in with Bondo filler, and I have seen that they can do it up here. So be sure to look and make sure it actually like closes and it actually is the right shape. Otherwise you may have to reshape it if it's not the original. Let's go ahead and shut this hood here. Oh my gosh, this thing is heavy. Perfect. Now, another unique thing to the Scout is this hook on the hood right here. The main purpose of this hook is because the entire windshield folds down. You can see the hinges right here. So it'll fold down and this keeps it hooked in so it doesn't fly back up as you're driving. Another unique thing about this Scout specifically is you can see here it has a single windshield wiper, and this is an electronic one. On the passenger side, it's not there because it used to use like a vacuum type windshield wiper. I don't even actually know what it used, but this is kind of unique to this Scout here, as well as the headlight on top. So that obviously is not original. The first owner added that. And the first owner of this Scout here was an Idaho farmer. So he used this as a farm vehicle. So there are some unique things that the first owner added, such as the headlight. Now let's go ahead and work our way around here as we go inside the vehicle. But before we do, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, as we'll be releasing one of these videos every single week. Now, another thing to look out for is the hinges. So some of the videos that I saw, these hinges get worn down a ton, and people try to like makeshift hinges so the door doesn't like fully sit inside of its own socket. So be sure to look out for that. Go ahead and open this up here. As you can tell, these are original hinges and it opens quite nicely. Another thing that's unique to this Scout here is it has these pull open windows, but that's unique to this one. Not a lot of Scouts have these types of windows. They're usually like crank arm windows, and you can fully replace this piece here. So if you find a Scout that like the windows are missing or like things are rusting here in the window panel, you can replace this entire panel here. Now, as we work our way inside here, and now one thing that every Scout will face is rusting on the floor pan, because this is basically just like a sheet of metal. So it rusts super easily. Now this one, you can see it started to rust a bit, and then one of the owners sprayed some like anti-rust, which stopped the process. But you can kind of see that rusting starting to happen. So that's gonna be one of the first things you do probably, is adjusting and fixing the floor pan. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, this SUV has 2 fuel tanks and you can switch between them. Most Scouts have a lever back here behind the driver's seat that you pull. This one was changed to an electronic switch that is up here underneath the steering wheel, the steering column. That's how you switch back and forth between the fuel tanks, which is pretty cool. And as you can see here on this Scout, all of the dash is original. Nothing has really been changed up here. It does have a nice little unique driver shift knob there for that 3-speed manual. And you also have the knobs here to switch between like 4-wheel drive. All right, now that we're inside this Scout here, some unique things about this Scout here is that it does not have the bulkhead that traditionally sits here, because this the original owners wanted things to like be able to go all the way through. It becomes a little bit less of a pickup and more of like a SUV here. So it does not have the bulkhead, and these are not original seats. It's a 60/40. Another unique thing about this Scout specifically is that you got hooks here for tools or rifles or anything you want to hold in here. You have hooks on either side, which is not original. The first owner added those. And you do have a lot of just storage space in the back too, which makes it a great overlanding vehicle because you can add a lot. There's a lot of space to add things. Now I'll work my way actually up to you, because if you notice, something that will come with this Scout is you've got some Cadillac hubcaps here, which you can easily put on these tires. One thing I've noticed with a lot of Scouts is that's where people like to really personalize, is what hubcaps do they put on the tires. All right, now another unique thing about this Scout here, the first owner, as I said, was a farmer. So you got these, what you could consider like maybe reflective plates. And our hypothesis is that these were like reflectors, so then you could find the Scout in the field as these reflected light off of them. That might be one reason why. We don't really know. Now, if you come back around here, another thing is you can see here, like the blinker signal is not original, and this is kind of what's left there. And the original owner of the Scout had a lot of like random wiring. So you may need to look up a lot of wiring for the Scout, see where these wires go. That may be one part of the project that you're doing with the Scout. Now, as you work our way back around the side here, another super unique thing that I wanted to show is this was a rifle holder. So he could just stick his rifles against it or stick his tools against the Scout here and just rest them there. It's kind of like super random. Fortunately, now if you don't want this, you have some holes. So you'll be filling in a lot of holes, which I've noticed is like every Scout has that problem where there are random holes in the body, and those are pretty easy to fill in. But you can see here on the driver's side down low, you can see where rust has kind of eaten through. From the ones that I've seen, this is actually really good. Most, this is completely gone. It's all the way through, extremely bad rust. And the reason why is because there's an opening in the back, which then mud and water can kind of sit along here and rust it out. On this vehicle, it is a little bit better on the passenger side, but that is something that I've seen on almost every single Scout that you want to look out for, and that'll be something you'll be including in your restoration project. And then the last but not least thing here that is unique to every Scout, this isn't just on this vehicle, is you have on the passenger side and on the driver's side, this is where the fuel tanks are, so you can fill them both up and switch between the two. Pretty cool. All right, now let's get into some of the restoration examples or some cool things you can do with the Scout. First off, something that's super unique about this Scout right here is the sliding glass windows. That is super unique, and I haven't seen it on any Scouts that I've been looking at online or looking at some of the reviews on. Another really cool thing you can do is this hard top right here. You can paint it, you can get different tops, you can make it just completely convertible, you can get a soft top. So the top is extremely customizable as far as like a project. Another thing you can do is you can turn this into like a complete convertible. You can fold down the windshield and you can completely remove these window panels. You can also custom paint it. I've seen some really awesome examples of some sweet paint jobs that people have done on the Scout. You can also do custom upholstery in here. This one has some leather seats in here, so they're not like original seats. So that's something that you can change on your own as well. Now, another cool thing you can do with the Scout is you can turn it into the ultimate overlanding vehicle. You can add rock guards to it. You can add a tent to the roof. You can also upgrade the suspension on it. You can add disc brakes, and you can also LS swap this baby, LS swap the world, or you can keep the original engine if you're cool like that. Now let's talk about my final thoughts here. If you want the original SUV and you want a project car that's super fun and exciting to make yours, the Scout is a perfect option for you. There are communities all over the interwebs of Scout enthusiasts that can help you along the way, give you great inspiration of how to build yours out and restore yours in the way that you want to. And the fact that this thing runs and isn't abandoned off of some random trail gives you a great head start, even though you have a lot of work ahead of you. So basically, this thing is a blank canvas for you to add your own spin to it and make it yours. That's all for this video. We'll catch you on the next PrivateAuto listing review.